All right, so I got my helpers back. They got a little distracted off in their little bubble. So with Mr. S, ready, Stanley, as we were mentioning, not every time is your puppy going to be able to go and engage with the distraction person or animal or dog. So what I recommend is in the beginning, so Oren, can you guys come over here to help me this time? So can you guys stand here and just wait for one moment? So let's say we have our company, we're hanging out in the kitchen, maybe the living room, or you're at your home outside, is the first step is how my puppy approaches the distraction. So I want to, in the beginning, get Mr. S's attention back on me, and we're going to go ahead and get his focus kind of almost more centered on the handler and then approach my distraction. So if my puppy approaches by pulling, I would then go and do a U-turn and then feed for the puppy for disengaging from the friends or family or whatever it might be. So ready, Stanley? So as Stanley's getting more cozy, we're going to try this approach again. We're going to head towards my friends. You guys can get a little closer. Ready, Stanley? So as we get a little bit closer, I want to get my puppy's attention on me versus the company. So you'll see that I am using his leash for now, so he can't head right over to his friends. Use your gear almost like training wheels again. So if your puppy would have gone and ran right over to the company and started jumping on them, that is a behavior your puppy's going to keep rehearsing and getting really good at. So I like to get my puppies comfortable near the person or thing and get them to eventually go visit. So I'm going to get Stanley's attention on me, get a little check-in with maybe a little sit. He's like, hold on, lady, I dropped that crumb. And he says, that's not as exciting. So remember, too, having the value that is you guys, can you guys stand up, though, instead? So the problem with having littles get low is they're already typically rather short. So getting them even lower means that they're normally at the same level as the puppy when it comes to their face. So even though Mr. S is a very friendly guy, I don't want the puppies to think it's about jumping and then sort of pummeling someone with their face in their mouth. So again, can you stand up, Ebba, please? Because we can't do it if you're not going to be standing. Ready, Stanley? So we're going to get Mr. S's attention and then get him to refocus on us and then go ahead and approach my friends. And then we might go Stanley and get a little check-in. And then would you guys like to come say hello? So come on over. You guys can come visit. Say hi there, puppy, and pat him. If Stanley keeps all 4 feet on the floor, awesome. What I like to do too is sometimes help the puppy by feeding him throughout the hello. So this way, remember, practicing touching and handling. You can pat him. I wouldn't pat his tail. So remember, places for puppies to be touched normally vary by pup, but a lot of times they prefer the side, sometimes the neck or the chest. A lot of puppies are head shy, where going and bonking them right on the head is not one of their favorite moves. Some puppies can become more comfortable. The other option too is if your puppy is a bit of a wiggly worm, you can hold their gear, not to make them feel trapped, but to keep the puppy from being able to lock and kind of jump up onto that little human or adult. So Oren, if you want to come over, you can also play and sort of pat. So you wouldn't do it, the handler would, so the adult. Can you move to this side? So remember too, guys, that if your puppies are having a hard time with something, they don't have to be stationary. You could, again, let them wiggle and sort of go mingle with the littles. You'll see that I am pairing food. Remember that if your puppy struggles with food, as in, like, for example, resource guarding or has a hard time, food creates a lot of excitement or arousal and that they find overwhelming, you can, for example, do proper hellos a little different. So we don't want to maybe force the puppy into something they would have never done had there been no food. So if your puppy does find children to be spooky, this is not how I'd work it. If you have an eager beaver that finds patting and touching to be overly exciting and they tend to get over jazzed and want to mouth or play with you, then this is more of an approach that I would use for an excitable or happy-go-lucky babe that doesn't find this to be scary. If we were dealing with more fear-based moments with different distractions, be it children, humans, adult-wise, or other things, we would not be doing it like this. So remember, every sort of setup will vary depending on your puppy's comfort range and the criteria that they might need to be successful. So no toes, please. So remember, feet, tails, and ears and heads tend to be no-no spots for a lot of dogs. So I wouldn't get your little humans in the habit of thinking that touching any part of the dog is appropriate or acceptable. This doesn't mean that you don't want to practice handling with your puppy, but there are certain body parts that can be flustering to your puppy. And then when you have brand new people that they don't know touching those body parts, it can be overwhelming. So too, if your puppy's ever had a bad experience at a groomer or at a veterinary hospital where they have to get certain procedures done, but it hasn't been, let's say, comfortable for the puppy, Evan, no tail please, then the problem there is it might start to funnel from one environment to another. So if, let's say, a brand new person equaled vet tech and vet tech handled him a little bit roughly from his perspective and then also applied a shot, then that moment might equal new people equals something feels uncomfortable or they're trapped and now it's going to hurt.
He's using me as a step stool.
He does do pause up and step up, so he's maybe using you like a lovely target. So for these proper hellos, Mr. S did a really nice job. So remember that you want to start off easy and soft. So if Stanley was ever getting a little too excited, creating distance between him and the friend will also help him disconnect. So very nice. So then as, let's say, he's doing a great job, we could do another one. So Stanley, once he's done picking up his little vacuum moment, his little crumbs, he's doing a good job with his little snacks. Then he's going to come back over. Ready? Stanley. And let's say, for example, you have a little bit of an older child. Come over this way, please, Lauren. You could have them have some snacks. This would not be if the dog was scared of them. So if the child is scary, I wouldn't make the dog choose between food and, for example, distance and feeling safe. So but let's say he's doing a great job. You could have the littles be doing some find-its as the puppy comes to visit them, even on leash. So Ebba, can you toss a couple snacks, please? So, but can you stand over here, Ebba, so people can see what you're doing, and you two, Oren, off to the side. That's plenty. So go ahead and do a little find it. Nice. So the benefit, again, of these find-its while you're working maybe even proper hellos is children don't equal instantly contact or visiting, but instead could equal doing some foraging for snacks and then have it be, again, where it's a little bit more comfortable for both parties. So now this way, the child could be feeding a couple snacks and the puppy could also be doing some find-its. But if you're finding, Oren, can we stand back up again? You were supposed to be standing. So I don't want the puppy climbing up on top of the littles, because if, for example, maybe the little one gets overwhelmed or the puppy gets overwhelmed, now they're at the same level. I prefer typically to have them standing, so that way if the puppy gets a little mouthy or exciting, the puppy will not be able to reach their face and bonk them by mistake. So there we go. So make sure we're out of the camera range, Ebba, because right now everybody can just see only your back. Can you move over, Ebba? Ebba? Listen to Mama. You got to move over to the side. There we go. So, Oren, if you want to do a couple find-its, you can. You have to show it to him and then throw. So again, ready, Stanley? There you go. Much better. Because Stanley doesn't know where you're throwing it because it ends up going typically behind his head and away from him. Nice. So right there, my little positive interrupter, that could have turned into a moment where Stanley would have liked to have jumped on her nicely. So we want to make sure that you're being proactive in his work or in his practice. Because if, for example, we're waiting for him to already be jumping and then we're telling him no, we're technically teaching him that no equals nothing to do instead, but just maybe get a little overwhelmed. And then he's also realizing that jumping might be part of the exercise. Ready, Stanley? Because, ready? If, for example, Mr. S makes contact, then he might start to think that contact is part of the exercise. So we want to make sure that when you're practicing, they're not going ahead and failing in the behavior you didn't want them to rehearse and master. So remember, puppies don't grow out of behavior, they grow into behavior. So if your puppy is practicing a lot of mouthing and jumping as you're saying hi to someone new, then every time they feel that excitement, it might equal mouth the thing to try to get themselves calmer or more comfortable. So I'm just going to get Mr. S's attention with a nice little find it again, and we'll probably give him a little break. So this was really, really pretty with his lovely hellos and some little proper visits.